SQL developer holding an experience of 7+ years. Today, our agenda is like we'll go through the introduction of database and the concepts of RDBMS, SQL, and
Sorry
few
to
things in
interrupt you.
SQL.
Your voice is very low, actually.
How about now?
Somewhat better compared to this.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not sure for me only or others also same issue. Hari, is it same for you or?
Sir, voice very low, getting.
Yeah, voice is good. Voice is good.
Okay, yeah, Dinesh, no issues. You can.
Okay. Is it better now? Can I move forward?
Dinesh.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, as I mentioned, like today we'll be looking into the concepts of database, RDBMS, little on SQL and little on SQL Server. Firstly, like what is data? Let me start the slideshow. Firstly, like what is data? Data is a piece of information, right? So, like then what is the database? Database is a place where we store the data. But though we store the data, to communicate with the database, we need some piece of software, right? So the piece of software to communicate with the database is called database management system, DBMS. So what are the different types of databases which are available in market? We have listed a few. Some of them are relational, NoSQL, object-oriented databases, hierarchical database, and network database. But the mostly used ones are relational and NoSQL. Some of the examples of relational databases are SQL Server, Azure SQL, which is a cloud database, MySQL, Oracle, Sybase, DB2 are some of the examples of relational databases. When it comes to the NoSQL, the mostly known database is MongoDB, and one other NoSQL database from cloud service is Cosmos DB. Okay, so far clear, right? Can I move to the next slide? I'm taking the silence as in yes. Yeah. Now, as we have seen that database management system is a piece of software to communicate with the database. So we have also seen there is a type a relational database. So to communicate with the relational database, we do have a piece of software called relational database management system. The RDBMS stands for relational database management system. So what does this relation all about? Like in RDBMS, the relation represents a table. What is a table? Table is a combination of columns and rows. Then what is a column? Column is a set of data values of a particular type for each and every row. Okay, then what is a row? Row is a data with respect to all the columns in a table. Okay, I was just setting up a little bit context which is theoretical. Please bear me for a few minutes. We'll also see the practical side when we enter into the SQL and SQL Server. So there are a lot of concepts in DBMS as well, which are so basic for the SQL. But one main important concept is keys. You can see there are various types of keys like super key, candidate key, composite key, primary key, alternative key, foreign key, unique key, natural key, and surrogate key. Out of these, only the bolded ones are the real-time entities, which we will create and use them in the while playing with the database, and rest of them are conceptual things which will help in this real-time entities. We will see this in details in the further sessions, but I'm not going into the details of this right now. So what are the main database objects that we do have in SQL? So the first database object is schema. which is used to group the database objects logically. And once a grouping is done, we can even have the permissions assigned to a particular schema also. Okay. What is the next database object? Table is the next database object, which is much more important entity. So in day in day out, we use tables in the database development or designing stuff. And as you have already seen, a table is a simple thing which is a combination of rows and columns. So the next database object is view. What is a view? View is a virtual table. That means like we'll write a select query and we'll save that as a view so that we can get the result set out of it. It's not a physical entity that will be present in the database, but it's just a virtual logical entity which will be created and which will be executed in the runtime. Okay, the next database object is stored procedures. What are stored procedures? Like we can have a executable statements, a sequence of executable statements, right? But if you want to execute them repeatedly, or if you want to enclose them in some other executable statements, so for the purpose of reusability and and uh, purpose of reusability, we mainly use stored procedures. Those will be for sure precompiled, and we will have a batch of executable statements, and it need not to return something, and it need not to have in mandatory input fields. A stored procedure can be without any input fields, and it cannot return anything. Like it's up to us, like whether we want to return something or not. Yeah. What is the next database object? Is like function. Function is also a precompiled batch of SQL statements, but how it is differed from the stored procedures is it should have some input for sure, and it should return something for sure. That is how it is differed from the stored procedures. What are triggers? So trigger is a special type of stored procedure which will be automatically run triggered and run when a particular event occurs on a table. Indexes. What are indexes? Like we retrieve the data. The main operations on the database is we store the data, we insert the data, we update the data, we retrieve the data, we delete the data, right? So in the process of retrieval, at times we might, as we are pointing to the relational database, so because of the normalization concepts, we divide the data into multiple tables, right? So using in the relations. So to get the holistic data, we need to perform joins between the tables. So while joining the tables and while retrieving more number of columns and retrieving large amount of data, the performance might get degraded. So what we will do in such cases is like we will pitch in these indexes so that there will be some default sort things that will happen, and based on that indexes, the retrieval process and the performance on the retrieval will be increased drastically. Yeah, uh, we are done with most of the basic concepts of RDBMS and database. Now we are seeing the basics of SQL. Like, what is a SQL? That SQL stands for Structured Query Language. It is a program designed for managing the relational database management system. So as we have already seen, what is RDBMS? Uh, uh, to manage the things, though it is a piece of software, to communicate with a piece of software, we need some language, right? So SQL is the language that we use to communicate with the relational database management system software. So we do have different types of commands in SQL, and those can be segregated into this 5 types on a high level, which are DDL, data definition language, DML, data manipulation language, DCL, data control language, TCL, transaction control language, DQL, data control language. So to go into the more specific of these types, what does DDL point is like, as we have seen the database objects, various database objects like tables, views, stored procedures, all these things, schema. So all these things are physical entities, right? So we need to create them. At instances we need to alter